and welcome to our information session today. My name is Enrique Hasso. I'm the director of TMDSAS, and we have joining us today the team from the brand new UT Tyler School of Medicine joining us. Thank you all so much.
Tyler.
All right. Before we get started, our executive director, Dr. Matthew Meeks, wanted to share some words.
Thank you, Enrique, and good afternoon, everyone. We are so excited to be here today, joined by our colleagues from UT Tyler School of Medicine to share with you about their distinct mission and vision and their plans to improve healthcare in East Texas. And there was a recent report that was published just a few months ago by the Department of State Health Services that described the healthcare disparities across Texas and highlighting the need for more representation of medical practitioners across the state, including in East Texas. And now we are so excited about the establishment of UT Tyler School of Medicine and what it means both for residents of East Texas and for our applicants to have a medical school in the region that will prepare students to make a difference in that community and beyond. And the Texas Health Education Service will be working alongside our colleagues at UT Tyler School of Medicine in the development of resources both for prospective students and all the members of the pre-health community, including our advisors across the state, to spread the word about their distinct mission and to educate and prepare prospective applicants and the pre-health community. So thank you, Dr. Willis and Dr. Abram and the UT Tyler School of Medicine admissions team for joining us today. And we look forward to this inaugural year. And I'll turn it back over to Enrique.
Enrique, you're muted, I think.
Oh, thank you. The joys of live sessions, right? Yeah. I was going to ask Dr. Willis if you wouldn't mind helping to introduce the team.
So I guess I'll go first since you called on me. I'm Brig Willis. I'm lucky enough to be the founding dean of our new medical school here at UT Tyler. I'm a longtime educator, but also a pediatrician by trade. Came here most recently from University of California, Riverside School of Medicine. Prior to that, spent a lot of time at University of Arizona in Phoenix, and before that was at UT Southwestern in Dallas. So it's kind of a return to home for me coming back to Texas, and just very excited to be here. So I'll just go through my Zoom window here, and I'll start with Dr. Kathleen Jones.
Howdy, Kathleen Jones. Thanks, Brig. I am a pathologist by trade, and I'm lucky and honored to be the Assistant Dean for Scientific Foundations, which means that I will oversee the pre-clerkship portion of our curriculum. And I'm just looking forward to engaging with you all and hoping for wonderful, bright things in Texas. Thanks.
Thank you, Kathleen. And next I have Amanda.
Hi, everybody. My name is Amanda Lynn. I'm the Director of Admissions here for the UT Tyler School of Medicine. I'm extremely excited to see what our program will do, not only for Tyler, but East Texas and Texas as a whole.
Thank you. And next we have Dr. Crystal Bryce.
Hi, everyone. I'm Crystal Bryce. I'm the Associate Dean of Student Affairs. So I am all about how do we help our students be successful and ensure that you're successful not only now, but as you're applying to residency and all of the next steps.
Excellent. And finally, Dr. Abram.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Dr. Giselle Armand Abram, and I serve as the Associate Dean of Admissions. I'm looking forward to working with each of you, answering your questions and helping you navigate and be successful in our admissions process.
So Enrique, that's our team. We're super excited to be here and to see all the comments coming in, and excited to share more about our school.
Yes, thank you all so much for joining us today. I know finding this many folks to synchronize our times to meet for a specific meeting like this is quite a feat. So thank you all so much for joining us. For those of you watching, I do want to remind you this is a live Q&A. So as you have questions for our group today, please drop them in the Facebook chat or on YouTube, and we will see those comments. We will get to them at the end of the session, so please stick around to make sure that your questions are addressed. But before we dig into that, we actually have an information session that the UT Tyler team would like to host. So we're going to go ahead and move in that direction.
All right, I think I'm going first with this. So welcome to everybody watching. Seriously, this is the culmination of a lifetime of working in medical education and the opportunity to start a school as innovative, exciting, and mission-driven as UT Tyler is something I've always wanted to do, and I'm incredibly honored and humbled to do now. And hopefully a lot of you will be a part of our school as we move forward. So I just wanted to share some information, and then others in our team will take it from me. So next slide. So these are all our team members who we already introduced. Myself, Amanda Lynn's our Director of Admissions, Dr. Abron's our Associate Dean of Admissions. Next slide. Dr. Crystal Bryce, our Dean of Student Affairs, and Kathleen Jones, our Dean of Scientific Foundations. And first of all, I hope you can see that we don't believe in silos here. Everyone works together. We all believe in student success, and we are just here to serve our students and do the right thing for East Texas and for our region. So, all right, next slide. Okay, so Dr. Meeks kind of talked about this a little bit. Why do we need a medical school in East Texas? There's a number of reports, including the status of health in East Texas that came out last year, showing really dire health outcomes in East Texas. And I don't have to talk about the specific statistics, but we'll see a graph in it showing that. But we have some of the worst health outcomes in the country in East Texas. And part of that is related to a shortage of physicians. The AAMC nationally predicts that there's going to be a continued shortage of physicians, between 54,000 and 139,000 physicians. But the most alarming gaps are in primary care and rural communities, which is exactly what we have in East Texas. So we need more investment to healthcare, and we need to have a medical school to provide the physician leaders who can lead teams of health professionals that can provide that healthcare. Next slide. So this is what I was talking about, the composite graphic of poor regional health outcomes, just to demonstrate among all the counties in Texas, 26 of the 35 counties in Northeast Texas region ranked in the worst 2 quartiles in the health outcome score. And so if you look at this graphic, dark colors are bad, and you can see most of East Texas is pretty dark colors. The exception being Smith County, where Tyler is, where we already have a lot of doctors. But this huge rural region that's the size of West Virginia has extremely poor health outcomes across the board: cardiovascular health outcomes, strokes, heart attacks, a whole variety of things. And so we need to address that. It's a critical need. And being as in West Virginia, if you ranked us as a state, we would rank between 47th and 51st nationally in health outcomes. So critical need to address this. Next slide. And you know, those health outcomes obviously translate into life expectancy. And so here is a interesting graphic on life expectancy. Pink or dark purple is bad, green is good. And you can see the life expectancy in East Texas has the most purple. So those health outcomes are resulting in early mortality for our residents. And I truly believe the medical school is going to be transformational in beginning to set up the teams that are needed to address this really, really critical problem. Next slide. So, you know, how did we set up our school? Why are we here? And what is our vision and mission? These are from our documents describing our vision and mission, which you can look at on our website. And I'm sorry about the little typo. I think translation, they got characters got moved. But I wanted to highlight, and I don't need to read the whole thing, but in our vision and in our mission, repeatedly, and in almost every paragraph, we're talking about improving the quality of life, reducing health disparities, partnering with the community, and doing everything in a partnership to eliminate health disparities and improve access to healthcare. That's why the school is here, right? To focus on working with the community as a partnership, not as some ivory tower, but embedded in the community, engaging with community members to focus on preventive care, primary care, to reduce health disparities in our region. So this is just incredibly inspiring to me to be able to build something that explicitly focused on improving the health and quality of life for an entire region. Next slide. So the foundation of what we have here, I think it's the strongest foundation for any beginning medical school I've ever seen or been a part of. I've helped establish 4 medical schools before coming here. And we have everything we need for an incredibly successful school. We have a committed and supportive community. I have never seen the outpouring of support like I've seen in Tyler and throughout East Texas since I've been here in the last months in establishing the school. It's so exciting. We have an incredibly strong clinical base that a lot of schools when they're starting up might not have. We have UT Health East Texas as our core health system with multiple facilities throughout the region, both outpatient and inpatient with across the spectrum of specialties. Something people might not know is that we have a really strong basic science operation already here at UT Tyler, both on the health campus and the undergrad campus. So a wide variety of basic science research operations. Clinical research, very strong here across a variety of specialties, trauma, cancer, a bunch of different things. So clinical research is going strong. Really strong allied health training, which to me is incredibly important because, 40 physicians a year that are going to come out of our school is not going to be enough by itself to change those health outcomes that we were talking about. It has to be a team of health professionals. And if you come to school at UT Tyler School of Medicine, you're going to be training alongside with nurses and pharmacists and a whole variety of other health professionals to learn how to lead those teams of health professionals to change lives. We have a long history of medical education here. We haven't had a medical school, but we have had residencies and fellowships, actually medical students being here from UTMB and from UT Southwestern for over 30 years. So we have a long history of trained faculty who know how to educate students and residents. Again, we have the merged health operations, so a very large clinical network. And interestingly, I don't know if people really care about this for us, but for us, it matters a lot. We actually merged our health campus with the undergraduate campus, which has opened up whole new worlds for me in setting up really innovative educational programs with other specialties such as humanities, ethics, chemistry, engineering, business. So a variety of educational partners we have to augment the medical education is really exciting to me. And actually kind of interesting, important, there are no other medical schools in this entire region. Again, a region the size of West Virginia, it's kind of crazy that there are no other medical schools. So we have a huge opportunity to spread throughout the region and do good and help people. Next slide. Okay, this is just kind of fun for me as I go through talking about our school. But I don't know if in the comments you guys can, everyone who's listening, feel free to answer this question. What are the top characteristics you would want to see in a physician that was taking care of you? So I don't know, Enrique, if we can wait for a couple of comments. Don't be shy. We're trying to get interaction here with our audience. Empathy. All right, good. Personable. I'm liking this. Empathetic. Good listener. Compassionate. Leadership. Empathetic. Knowledgeable. Compassionate. Diligence. Cultural competence. Listening skills. Awesome. These are all exactly, I would have agreed with every single one of these things. And what's really interesting here, and we're going to get to this in the next section on admissions and the type of students we're looking for, focus on other life circumstances. I love that. Working with other health professionals. But what's interesting about this entire list is nobody said a really high MCAT as the characteristic they would want in their physician, right? Nobody said a GPA of 4.0, right? And my point here is, and we're going to have a lot more description of this from our wonderful admissions team, is UT Tyler is trying to be different. We're trying to get students who exhibit and embody all the things that you guys just listed in that chat, right? So empathy, communication, compassion, leadership, all these things. Those are the primary characteristics that we are trying as hard as we can to focus on being the primary things that our students show every day when they're going in to take care of patients. Not trying to say that academics aren't important. We want knowledgeable, skilled, trained physicians. But we have an incredible pool of people applying. And we want to really focus on the people that want to do good that want to focus on preventive care, that want to focus on primary care, go out in the community, partner with their community, and really make a difference. So for me, I love what you guys all put in there. Very excited to, I think at this slide, is this where I pass it on to admissions? I can't remember what the next one is.
Yes.
All right, so I am done. We'll take questions, but now we're going to talk about how we're going to look for the type of students that we want.
Thank you, Dr. Willis. As mentioned, I am Dr. Abram, and I'm briefly going to discuss some admissions information, and then I'm going to pass the baton on to our Director of Admissions, Ms. Amanda Lynn. The foundation of our School of Medicine rests on recruiting the right students to become the right kind of doctor, who is community focused, dedicated to East Texas, passionate about preventative care and systems level change, and primary care oriented. A well-qualified applicant will exhibit these characteristics along with their ability to learn and implement the knowledge and skills gained in our medical program. Next slide, please. So what are our admissions requirements? First, you need to complete the application through TMDSAS. The primary application is due on no later than November 1st. And we also, if you are selected to be invited to complete the secondary application, that should be completed no later than November 15th. The secondary application was designed to give you the opportunity to share more about yourself through a series of 4 required questions along with an optional question. The secondary application is centered around the School of Medicine's mission statement, which is the University of Texas at Tyler School of Medicine was founded to address the shortage of physicians and lack of access to healthcare in East Texas. And everything we do will be in partnership with our communities. Our mission is built on 4 elements: community engagement, education, research, and clinical. The questions that make up the secondary application are, because I'm sure all of you are inquiring to know, the first question is, why are you interested in applying to UT Tyler School of Medicine? That question is limited to 5 words. Question 2, describe any experiences or information you have in or about East Texas as it relates to our mission statements. That is also a 500-word maximum response. Question 3, please share with the community what unique skills, experiences, and/or qualities and characteristics and/or ideas you may have or possess that will help you contribute to the mission of UT Tyler School of Medicine if selected for the class. This question also has a 500-word max. Question 4, please review the School of Medicine's values and select the value that most resonates with you. Explain why. 500-word max. And the 5th optional question, although it's optional, we highly recommend, please use the space to share with the committee any additional information that may help us evaluate your candidacy that is not addressed elsewhere in the application. This is a great opportunity for you all to really highlight and showcase your characteristics and your skills as it relates to medical education and our focus of serving the East Texas community. Additionally, we will require official college transcripts, official MCAT scores, essays, letters of recommendations, which are all due no later than November 15th. Any supplemental information will be requested on an as-needed basis. The School of Medicine will also utilize CASPER, which is a situational judgment test, and the DUET profile. These are due no later than October 13th, and Ms. Amanda Lynn will provide additional information in the next slides regarding those 2 elements. And lastly, you must have completed the required prerequisite coursework, 11 semester hours of biology, 2 of which must be labs, 8 semester hours of physics, 2 of which must be labs, 12 semester hours of chemistry, which includes one of the following course combinations, either 2 semesters of organic chemistry and 1 semester of general inorganic chemistry for a total of 9 semester hours with 3 labs, or 2 semesters of general inorganic chemistry and 1 semester of organic chemistry for a total of 9 semester hours with 3 labs, 3 semester hours of biochemistry, 3 semester hours of composition-based English, and 3 semester hours of statistics. I know that was a lot to take in. This information is also on our website. And if you have additional questions about that at the end, we can definitely discuss those. And now I'm going to pass the baton on to Ms. Lynn, our Director of Admissions.
Next slide, please. Okay, as what was mentioned earlier, we want to take a different approach to admissions, and part of that is by looking at 4 pillars. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take a holistic approach to all aspects of the application. The first of our 4 pillars is going to be the Academic Preparation Index, and you can see that the information that we used to develop this was taken from national AAMC data, and it's going to focus on students who are academically prepared to be successful. So we have the minimum GPA and MCAT scores. For our GPA, we're going to look for a 3.0 and your last 30 hours of your biology, physics, chemistry, mathematics. And then for the MCAT, we're looking for 492. For those who haven't taken the MCAT yet or haven't received your scores yet, when you get those scores, you're going to get a range. And so when you're looking at that range, we're going to be looking for a 492 within that range. One thing to note is that when our admissions committee is reviewing applications, they will not see a student's GPA or grades, and they will not see the MCAT. We'll know that they have met the minimum requirements because that is a part of our minimum requirements to move forward, but they will not see your actual GPA or MCAT scores. Slide, please. As mentioned earlier, we are very committed and focused on East Texas. So this graph here, it shows you our counties that have been identified as East Texas counties as well as adjacent to East Texas counties. So we are looking for students who are interested in staying in East Texas, practicing in East Texas, and helping to with those health disparities that was mentioned earlier in the presentation. One of the things that we'll also be doing is if a student does not have direct ties to East Texas, we'll look at other things to see if you have those connections, such as did you go to high school in the area? Were you born in this area? Your permanent home address, is that in the East Texas area? We'll look at a wide variety of things to see if there is ties to our East Texas county or our adjacent East Texas counties. Next slide, please. Our third pillar is going to be focused on our mission-centered index. And so again, when we are looking at our applicants, we want a diverse group of students that truly represents our greater East Texas area. We are going to support students with less advantaged backgrounds, looking at Pell Grants, second language in the home. In this area, we're looking at your experiences in leadership and community service. I always like to say at this point, make sure it's okay that you brag on yourself a little bit here. It's okay to talk about your leadership and your community service. One thing to keep in mind is, especially when we're reviewing your initial application, secondary, this is what we have to go by. We haven't met you in person yet. So don't be shy to include those leadership and community service activities that you've completed. And as we've mentioned, our goal is to have a class that represents all of East Texas as well as our core values for our program. Next slide, please. So the fourth pillar, this is where Casper and Duet are going to come in. So the fourth pillar looks at empathy and ethics. And so as was mentioned, we will use Casper, which is an open response situational judgment test. And for those who may not be familiar with Casper, they will ask you tough situational questions and they will see what your answer is and how did you and why did you come up with this answer. So you can see here listed a list of attributes that Casper is going to be looking for. So there's collaboration, communication, ethics, professionalism, self-awareness, and a few others. As mentioned earlier as well, please remember that the deadline for your Casper is going to be on October 13th. Next slide, please. The other part of the ALTIS assessment group we're going to use is Duet. Duet aligns assessment is an alignment assessment that will compare your values to your program's values. Something to keep in mind is when you're doing your research on different schools of medicine is that each school will have a set value that they've set for their program. And so what Duet does is it does a comparative look at your values versus your program's value. And like Casper, Duet is going to be due on October 13th as well. And at the end, I'll be able to answer any questions that you may have. And at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Jones.
Thanks so much, Amanda. So you might be wondering, well, what is the curriculum going to look like? Well, we've looked at the literature and did our homework. Our planning team was very responsive in looking at the needs of future physicians. And our curriculum will be very much based in an active learning style. We recognize that you all are very capable of researching the literature and reading on your own. But what we want to do is make sure that our curriculum adds value to your in-class time. We're going to be very fortunate to have a small class size of about 40 students. So we're going to leverage that in unique ways, particularly with small group learning and large group interactive learning. Our core faculty is an integrated team, and we recognize that there's a lot of information that you have to be a good physician. But what we're going to do is leverage our collective experience to design interactive sessions that require some pre-work, but then come to class and engage with your fellow students and your faculty in a way that's meaningful and allows you to apply that pre-work in case-based scenarios. So our pre-clerkship curriculum will actually be based largely on cases of the week with themes throughout. You won't take a biochemistry course, you won't take a physiology course, you won't take a pathology course. All of our material will be integrated in a way that provides meaningful connections between core concepts that then build on each other from the pre-clerkship phase or phase 1 in clerkship phase and beyond. Next slide. So when I talk about that integrated curriculum, that's the in-class time, but we have a few unique features of our curriculum that we're very excited about. One of those is you will participate in training and obtain EMT certification as the first 4 weeks of our curriculum. We feel that will really give you a lot of basic skills in understanding how we can approach patients in the clinical environment and set you up for success throughout the remainder of the curriculum. Our curriculum will also include components of leadership, which we feel is very important and mission focused, as well as training in health systems science to understand how the care of not only you as a physician, but your care within the context of health systems is so important and can be integrated and leveraged to the benefit of patients. Obviously, mission focus will also require that we focus on our community health as well as population health. And we're also going to deliberately emphasize integrative health, which would include topics like how exercise can actually be an important prescription for some patients, as well as nutrition and educating your patients about nutrition in a way that is actually works to their benefit and serves to potentially even educate the families and the communities about that. I noticed in some of the chat comments, right, one of the qualities you all mentioned was how does a physician interact with others? And we have an interprofessional education course that will run longitudinally throughout the 4 years, because as you all mentioned, that is so valuable, right? It takes a team, it takes a whole village of people to make sure that we can care and support the health and well-being of our patients. And of course, we're going to include aspects of the medical humanities and medical ethics, as Dr. Willis mentioned earlier. Next slide, please. So here's a snapshot of our curriculum. You'll see that we have courses and the names of them like seasons, balance, nutrition, and the pre-clerkship. Doesn't quite sound right like your typical discipline-based courses, and that's deliberate. As I mentioned, all of the content will be integrated, and we're really striving to have team teaching throughout most of our curriculum. And as Dr. Willis mentioned, we're leveraging the expertise of folks in other colleges throughout the university, such as the College of Pharmacy, and as well as even main campus with our humanities and ethics teaching. So we're truly looking for that integrative model with faculty that you can feel comfortable with and interact with, who have a broad perspective of what it takes to be a great physician. I won't spend a lot of time on this right now, but happy to go back at this and answer some of your questions. But we will essentially spend about 18 months in our pre-clerkship curriculum. And part of that will include a community and rural medicine clerkship, which MS1 students will start in January of their first year. So you'll be out in the clinics relatively soon within our curriculum. And then we'll have 12 months of the core clinical experiences, which you see listed there, spending about 12 weeks in each. You'll have some breaks built in, and then you'll have some time for independent study for step 1, followed by our advanced clerkships to finish out the year with your scholarly projects as well. Next slide.
Okay, Kathleen, I'm sorry. Can I point out one detail here?
Sure, absolutely.
Just to emphasize to everyone listening, the step 1 will be taken actually after the clerkships together, with step 1 going to pass-fail. That's a benefit, and there's a lot of overlapping content in those exams, and there's good data from multiple studies and from WB that pass rates actually go up, or at least for students who take step 1 in conjunction with step 2 after their clerkship years. It also serves to de-emphasize that, so you can focus on things that are actually important in learning to be a physician, like all the really cool aspects of the curriculum that Dr. Jones was talking about. So just to make that little detail clear, most med schools, people take step 1 immediately after the pre-clerkship part. In our school, it's going to be dedicated study time for both 1 and 2 after the clerkship year.
And Dr. Willis, thank you so much for mentioning that. I did want to also highlight one other thing that isn't listed on this slide, but I think it's important as a potential student to know. And that is that very often curricula are developed in somewhat of a silo, right? So the pre-clerkship team is working off in a corner, and the clerkship educators are working in another corner, and then they get together and hope everything works out. We are deliberately including our clerkship leadership in our phase 1 curriculum planning. So the leader of the phase 2 portion of the curriculum knows exactly what's going on week to week and is building that foundational knowledge that we're covering in phase 1 into phase 2. So everything will be transparent to the clerkship teams and teachers of what you've seen in phase 1 and vice versa. And we're, opening those conversations so that there's an ongoing dialogue. We're trying to eliminate silos, primarily because, getting back to that, there's a lot of information to know. We want to make sure that what you see in our classroom and in our pre-work is as efficient and as effective and supportive of your learning as possible. So to cover, for example, acid-base physiology 4 or 5 times in the curriculum when you have already mastered that material is really not an efficient use of your time. So we're trying to design it and build it such that it's very efficient and supports your learning and success, as Dr. Willis mentioned, on step 1 and step 2. Thank you so much. And then I think I have one more slide here. We would, obviously we're a medical school, which is interested in not only the undergraduate medical education, which you all will be applying for, but it's important to know, well, where am I going to train? Where am I going to get my residency and fellowships? And we see this as a very meaningful continuum. We have a number of residency and fellowship programs here already in the area with a very long-standing history of success, led by many, many expert faculty. And as our school grows, we will certainly grow the GME programs as we need to align with our mission and vision. So with that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Crystal Bryce. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Jones. Next slide.
I think it's on the slide for you, Crystal.
Oh, just kidding. Sorry. So we are really interested in making sure that we are supporting the entire student. And so when we talk about holistic support, we're not just talking about how are you doing in your coursework or in your clerkships or whatever it is that you're doing. We're talking about you as an entire person. And so while we will definitely provide that academic support, we will have advisors and coaches who can help you be successful in the learning environment and help you find that motivation and help you feel as though you can do it. We will also think about the future. So we will have advisors who are here to help you in career planning and exploration. So in the beginning, just really figuring out what do you want to do? What does that look like? And then helping to connect you with those resources to learn more about certain specialties or whatever it is that you might be interested in. In addition, so that's more on the, I think, academic type side, we want to make sure that we are there to support you and your well-being. So in order for you to be successful now and in the future, we want to make sure that you have a good foundation of what do I need to do to make sure that I'm taking care of myself so that I can take care of my patients in the future. So we will have well-being programming and really just have other activities and supports in place to make sure that you feel connected and engaged in the program. We also are committed to accessibility and providing accommodations as needed. We would encourage you, if you need accommodations, or to disclose that and let us know, because that allows us to ensure that we are providing you with the best learning environment while also really making sure that we are being diverse and equitable for whatever that might be. So we are committed to diversity, inclusion, and equity across all realms. And I think you'll find that in everything that you see and hear from us. In addition, we have a small class size, which is great because that means you will have close interactions with your faculty and peers, as well as having that supportive and building those relationships with faculty. Everybody here is committed to that holistic student support. We are here to support you and be those people that you need. And so having that supportive faculty for that one-on-one mentoring is wonderful and only made better by the fact that we have those small class sizes. And lastly, we're here to help you with financial support. We will have scholarships available, and we're also here to help you with financial literacy so that you can start to prepare for what that might look like in the future. And I'll pass it off to Dr. Willis.
Muted. There we go. Sorry about that. Yeah, thank you all to the team. What I'm just so excited to see this coming together. Everyone's been working really hard over the past year and a half to get this going. But I really want to focus us on the impact, and why would you want to be a student here, and what can we do as a school with you guys as students? We, again, going back to the beginning of the presentation, our entire mission, existence of the school is to improve health outcomes and disparities in East Texas. And it's important to really focus on the specific words there, right? Because we're trying to recruit students and produce doctors who are focused on those things, right? So what kind of doctors and what kind of focus would really change health outcomes and disparities? And that's going to be preventive medicine, primary care, a community focus, and for students to want to stay in East Texas. That's why we're here. We want to, again, partner with and enhance the effectiveness of our community organizations. As I see it, 40 doctors by themselves aren't going to make a very big difference. But a doctor, as a team leader of health professionals who partners with multiple community organizations, can have an incredible exponential effect in a small town in East Texas to change health outcomes. That's what I want to see. I see that medical school is also being able to dramatically increase social mobility of the region. Through expansion of health professions careers. Somebody who comes from a family who's never had someone go to college before becoming a physician or a nurse or a pharmacist is generationally changing for that entire family. And I think it's going to have a huge effect on communities throughout our region. Obviously, it's great for a university and the region to have a medical school, and us being the first and only medical school in the region is really important. And, we want to focus on research as well. We want to generate new knowledge, but we want that knowledge to be specifically related to the health issues of the communities of East Texas. So whenever I'm talking to people about new research programs, I ask that question: will this benefit the communities of East Texas? And so every single day we're looking at that, from education to research to clinical care to community engagement, is how can we really make a difference? And I'm just inspired and excited to be here, excited to work with this incredible team. And with that, I think we'll stop talking at you and lecturing at you, since we try and avoid that in our curriculum anyway. and jump to the Q&A part. Again, any questions, we have a website, we have a specific email here for admissions, and let us know if you have any questions. But happy to jump to the Q&A part now, Enrique.
I do have a point of clarification, Dr. Willis. Enrique has informed us that TMDS will request official transcripts to be submitted to UT Tyler School of Medicine once the applicant receives their acceptance offer. So I want to make sure I clarify that. Thank you, Enrique, for bringing that to our attention. I love that we can work together, and you call us on any miscommunication that we share. I appreciate that. So I hope that clears up that aspect for everyone. And then I'll turn it over to Enrique for additional.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that clarification.
You're welcome.
I heard that, and I could already hear thousands of applicants asking us that same question. So I'm glad we could address it here.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we have some really fantastic follow-up questions that have come into the chat as we were going through the presentation. So we're going to go from the top. How can someone from the Houston area show their interest and commitment in serving the patient population that UT Tyler will serve via their personal statement or activities? So as mentioned earlier that there's a large focus on East Texas. So Houston isn't quite part of East Texas, but
yeah, I mean, I can take that, Enrique, and then if Dr. Abron or Amanda or anybody wants to jump in. Yeah, so we're really committed to serving East Texas. That's number one. So we are giving preference to people who have deep connections to East Texas. That is not to say our entire class will necessarily be all from East Texas, right? We might have people, our assistant dean of foundation science actually came to us from Houston. We have representation from across Texas. So we will likely take students from across Texas in the school. And so whether you're from Houston or Dallas or wherever in Texas, it's the same criteria for looking at students as being from anywhere else, right? We want to look at people who are committed to primary care, who are committed to preventive care, who have done community service. I did see a question there, if somebody who has to work full-time, are they disadvantaged because they might not have had time to do volunteer activities or community service? And I would say no. We're looking for people who have deep life experience, and from my work on admissions committees, and our charge is that work experience can be just as important as volunteer type experience. We're looking for diverse experiences that contribute to someone being focused and committed to primary care in their community. But you can be from anywhere. So anything the team wants to add to that?
Sure. I'd like to add something. If you're not from this area or don't have geographical ties, I would, as a person who applied to graduate school in the past and who didn't quite have that criteria, I spoke to what I intended to do in the future. So I would speak to your desire to serve rural communities and to help mitigate the healthcare disparities that are in the East Texas region. So that's just my little 2 cents.
I like that. The next question I get, is that one, Enrique, we're supposed to go to that next one that's showing?
Sure. Let me go ahead and get our next question here. Are online science prerequisites acceptable with a lab in person? How important is it to have volunteer research experience, which Dr. Wills just addressed? And then another question on the same comment about non-traditional students in full-time work, which was also just addressed. So I think the last one left here is are online science prerequisites acceptable with a lab in person?
Amanda, do you want to talk about that?
Sure, yeah. So, as long as a class is from a U.S. accredited university or college, then we will definitely review it. I noticed in the TMDSAS website, you want to make sure that you indicate that that class was listed as an online class or listed as an in-person class. So just make sure that you list the class appropriately. But yeah, as long as it's from a U.S. accredited institution, we can take a look at it.
Excellent. Thank you. I know that's been a big question recently with COVID and how the past couple of years have really impacted the delivery of courses. We have a few follow-up questions regarding Casper. Is there a minimum Casper quartile?
I can talk on this one. So we've looked at the file, and then we've also looked at the standard deviation. I've got the standard deviation breakdown, so I can look at that one. So we're going to look at everything from, a -2 standard deviation all the way up to a 1.01 standard deviation. So we'll look at all of the Casper scores.
Yeah, I guess I would add it's not really a minimum, but we're using the Casper in the same way we're using the academic preparation, where there'll be sort of groupings of students with various chunks of Caspers, but there is no sort of disqualifying minimum Casper score. If that's what the question is.
Excellent, thank you. I know Casper is still kind of a new part of the application, so we appreciate you clarifying how it's going to be used. We had a question from a user on Facebook regarding the admissions criteria for someone with an international bachelor's degree. I believe this question may be best addressed by sending us a message at TMDSAS, info@tmdsas.com, and our team will be happy to help provide you some additional support on how to get your international coursework into the application and what the requirements are going to be. All right. Along the conversation of admissions, how do you plan to evaluate coursework in terms of GPA requirements?
So it will be that last 30 hours for that minimum biology, chemistry, physics, and mathematics, and that's going to include your undergraduate and graduate. So just the last 30 hours of those math and science classes is what we'll use.
And if I can jump in on that, what we're trying to do here is look at somebody's entire journey through academics, right? Because the student population in East Texas, there's a lot of first-generation college students. There's a lot of people who got to college and might not have had the study skills to do well. And so what we're trying to do in evaluating the last hours of the GPA is de-emphasize those first years in college, because what I've seen in a lot of schools, people can be almost disqualified from medical school application because they had a bad GPA in their freshman year. We're trying to not have that be the case, right? So we're trying to really emphasize the last portion of your studies, because we've seen a lot of kids get to college and figure it out after their first year, and then all of a sudden they have a really great GPA in their last years or in their graduate coursework. That's an incredibly committed person, and that's somebody we want to evaluate very, very closely.
All right, we've had a few questions pop up about secondary applications. Let's go ahead and dig into those next. Number one, with when are supplemental applications sent out to the applicants?
If you're invited to apply using the secondary application, it will be available starting this month. So keep a lookout for it.
All right, thank you. And then a quick follow-up to that one. If applicants have used the fee assistance program through AAMC, are they able to use that to help offset any costs?
There's no fee for the secondary. So
no fee. So I'm sure that's music to all of our applicants' ears. There's a free secondary application out there. All right. Let's see. We've had a couple of additional questions regarding the interviews. Can you talk a bit about how interviews will be structured?
Sure. I can start off with that one, and then please feel free, anybody else, to jump in. So the goal is to do in-person interviews. Of course, we're keeping an eye out on everything, and we'll adjust if we have to. And we're looking at doing a MMI setup for our interviews with group activity, as well as some tours, a Q&A session, and some information sessions from Dr. Willis and team.
I'll add a little bit to that. We're actually also looking to send out invitations to interview in September.
Mm-hmm.
All right. You can hear the scratches on people penciling in September into their calendars. All right. We have a few follow-up questions regarding the curriculum discussion. And I know that there was a very popular discussion that we had. Will there be physicians from all over East Texas involved during the clinical and practicing physician time?
I can take that first if that's okay. Absolutely. UT Health East Texas is really an exciting partner to have. We have clinics and actually residency programs all throughout East Texas. And so we're partnering with multiple institutions in multiple parts of the region. And so the short answer is yes, we're going to have many positions for many parts of East Texas.
Great. And then another question in that same realm: how often are patients seen during the didactic years?
So when the students start in the rural medicine clerkship, which actually begins in January of the first, they will be seeing patients as soon as they start. So we're hoping to have a lot of rich clinical experiences early on. Obviously, in our doctoring course, which I didn't spend a lot of time on, but we're calling that the TOPS course, students will have opportunities to engage with patients as well as standardized patients in those settings as well.
Excellent.
And also, I mean, I can add to that the EMT training. So students will be doing many hours of ride-along patient experience. So many, many different ways.
Absolutely. Thank
Great. Then another question in that same area: do students rotate throughout East Texas or mainly throughout Tyler?
It will be throughout East Texas. That's why we want to make sure we get that rural medicine emphasis. So we're balanced between activities in the Tyler clinics as well as in the rural medicine, more far-reaching.
Yeah, I mean, we already have GME programs in Athens, Pittsburgh, Jacksonville. We're all throughout the region, so our students will be involved in all those areas.
Excellent. And that fits right in to the discussion that we had about the mission of the school and commitment to the region, how we see it coming up in involving the community in education. That's a huge, huge deal. Let's see. Here's a question, I think a little bit closer related to the admissions process. What kind of experiences does UT Tyler value the most? Some schools tend to have a little bit more focus on certain areas. For example, UT Tyler sees medical medicine experience, prior EMS experience, or applications focused on working with disadvantaged populations. Is there a specific activity that you would like that a competitive applicant should have?
I'm happy to speak on this one. In my personal opinion, and again, guys, please feel free. As long as the experience was meaningful to you and made an impact on you and to help you make your decision that, you know, I do want to go into medicine and this is why, then I think that the experience is meaningful and could benefit you as an applicant. And then, of course, you know, you as a person while you're going through this process.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, any of those listed type of experiences could inform someone's desire to do primary preventive care in a rural setting, right? It depends on, Amanda's exactly right, describing how a military experience led to you really wanting to do primary care in a rural setting. That's very possible, but we need to kind of see that connection. So any experience, no matter what the location, inform your decision to come to a school that's so focused on rural preventive and primary care, if that makes sense.
I think it certainly does. Thank you. All right. There are some questions here. I think, Dr. Bryce, these might be directed toward you about activities that students can do once they're already enrolled at UT Tyler School of Medicine. What kind of research opportunities are there?
So that's a great question. We are going to make sure that when we have these types of opportunities, whether it's research or volunteer opportunities, or you know, maybe you want to start a student organization, that we will have someone who is in charge of and there to make sure that all of these opportunities are easily outlined and you can find them. So as we have these research opportunities arise, we will have probably a Canvas page or something like that where we're constantly kind of posting these opportunities and then nicely sending it out so that everyone can see what those are, in addition to having those conversations with those advisors that we have here. So if you want to do research, you can have those conversations, and then our team, our student success team, will be here to help make those matches for you.
Yeah, I can add to that. We actually have a scholarly project requirement So all the students in the curriculum will be doing some kind of a scholarly project, many of which will be research projects, and we'll have staff and faculty to support those efforts. Kathleen, did you want to add anything to that?
I was just going to say we plan to have a director of scholarly activity, and we'll have a portion of the curriculum supporting students' understanding of what it means to have a scholarly project and research. We're going to be pretty broad in our definition of research. So as long as it's mission focused, we're all in, right? So community projects are research about preventive health, integrative health, wellness. All of those will be very important parts of a student's experience, but will also contribute to our mission and vision.
Wonderful. Thank you. I know that we discussed how community is involved in the education aspect, but there's someone asking specifically if there are opportunities to learn or volunteer at a free clinic during the clinical years.
I mean, I can take this also. We are already partnered with multiple community clinics and free clinics. We're partnering with St. Paul's here in Tyler, Bethesda Clinic. We're setting up a really cool clinic. It's called Clinic Under the Bridge here for unhoused populations. So even before the school has started, we have multiple opportunities for that. And yes, student affairs will definitely be, I'll be working with them closely to set up as many free clinic opportunities as we can. We're also partnered with the East Texas Food Bank and multiple other community organizations to do that really on the ground community engagement that I was talking about.
Thank you. I have a couple of follow-up questions regarding admissions. When will acceptance be extended to applicants? I can answer that. Acceptances will begin starting October 15th, which coincides with all the other TMDSAS acceptances. For out-of-state applicants, those are outright acceptances. For Texas resident applicants, those are pre-match offers. However, for the second half of the question, how many applications are you all anticipating? And perhaps a quick recap of how many spots are available.
I can talk about that one. So as far as how many spots we have available, we are going to have a class of 40 students. And then as far as the number of applications we're anticipating, roughly 6,000, between 5,000 and 7,000 is kind of what we're thinking about and looking at.
I would like to add to that, those 40 that will make up our first cohort will all receive a scholarship to take care of their tuition and fees for their 4 years of medical school. Oh, great timing. What kind of scholarships are available?
That's huge news. Huge news.
And I mean, I can add to that. One of my primary missions right now as dean is building our scholarship endowment further, even beyond that. So try to have a very robust array of need-based scholarships and those kind of things to help with living expenses, and then also beyond the class. So we're working on that as we speak.
Wonderful. All right, and we're going to have one more question here regarding reviewing admissions for a reapplicant or for non-traditional students. Is that process different for you all?
Nope.
Didn't think so. We can't say that enough times.
I guess for us, we don't have any reapplicants, right? I know they're reapplying to med school, but they're first for us. So we're happy to have them.
Yeah. Well, we are at our time now. So I do want to share, for those of you that are currently applying to TMDSAS, to UT Tyler School of Medicine through TMDSAS, to add the school, if you've already submitted your application, please visit our website, and we have a form that you will complete. Through that form, we'll add the school to your application within 5 business days or a week. If you have not yet submitted your application, then you can go to your select school section and just check mark for UT Tyler School of Medicine and submit your application. We're working through this is that time of the year for our application cycle. So we're really excited to finally have our 21st member institution. Before we end the session, I'd like to pass it back on to you all if there are any final words of encouragement you'd like to share to prospective applicants.
No, I just hope everyone's as excited as I am about this, what I consider a really amazing school. I have not been at a school with this much, again, community support, focus on community engagement, and mission-driven applications of everything we do every day, from curriculum to student affairs. And I love our team, and we're excited for some of you to join us as students next year.
And
Wonderful.
Dr. Willis, I would like to jump in. I saw a few questions about the curriculum. It will be pass-fail, and it will be integrated with interactive. I noticed someone was asking about lectures. We are striving for no lectures. Thanks.
Music to folks' ears.
I know, right?
Excellent. Yeah. Well, thank you all so much once again for taking the time to join us. Give us a quick introduction into the brand new UT Tyler School of Medicine. And so on behalf of UT Tyler School of Medicine, the Texas Health Education Service, and TMDSAS, we'd like to wish each one of you all the best of luck in your application. We're all here to help you succeed. So if there's anything we can do, please do reach out. And we look forward to seeing your application at our desk. So all the best of luck, and we'll see you later.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Bye. Thank you.